Hello, everyone. Long time no see. Frankly, I am recording in this very scuffed recording situation still because I've been putting it off for a long time and it's been raining all day. And I've also been playing Pokemon Champions all day, which I kind of feel badly about. So I figured, you know what? Let's just record and move on with it. It's not like my production value has ever been that great anyway. So today, you've probably seen the title of our video is talking about uh, the real ways that AI is actually going to kill your small restaurant. And, I am going to dabble with some clickbait as well as boosting my audio. As you can see, I get the earpiece in, going Britney mode today. Um, but I'm serious. I have five and some change, but it's five genuine main points that we're just going to tackle right off the beginning here that I think all small restaurants and small businesses should be thinking about and be critical about. This doesn't matter. You can talk about how it's a bubble. You can talk about how you don't believe in it. You don't use it. Peers are going to be using it. You could be trying to apply it in every single portion of your restaurant, every single process that you have, right? Even if it is a bubble, I'm going to warn you, right? Like, we have a couple of great economic commentators and some great tech commentators talking about this. One of which is somebody I've been watching quite a bit recently. Big shout out to Hank Green. Like, your individual YouTube channel has been phenomenal. Really speaking a lot to me. But you, I think, believe mentioned this great thing where like bubbles can often hold for years at a time, and people can even know their bubbles, but it doesn't mean that it actually like does anything, right? So if you think, oh, I just need to wait another 6 months or another year or something, and finally this AI fad will be passed, I don't know that that's the case, right? And I don't think you should be betting on that. So here's what we're gonna do, right? Punch right into it. Timestamp right here. So these are the five ways that LLMs and AI are really going to impact and damage and possibly kill small businesses. Number one is that all LLM services are going to continue to be gate kept, right? So you guys might be seeing some of this in a little bit of your media, maybe some of the things that I've talked about, right? But large language models, for the most part, are chewing through processors, chewing through water. These are not things that people are running on local machines. I don't know people that are really like designing their own SLMs or configuring their own open clause to like support restaurant staff and managers in performing duties. You just don't see any of that. So when you're not in control of it, you're kept completely, boxed out from the real value here. This whole service as a software thing is like, you're not going to own any of this, and like you should be happy about it. And this is going to double back into a little something here in a minute, but this kind of segues into give me this half point here too. Is there are a lot of attempts at like in-house development for all kinds of like applications, and people thinking like, oh, I don't need to know how to code anymore and all that stuff. And if it's in-house, if it's not plugged into something that's networking, if it's not handling specific and regulated confidential data, I say, you know what, go for it. Build whatever the hell you want to build with GPT Codex or Claude or whatever. Get in there with DeepSeek, right? Don't care. But this attempt at in-house development for some of these like software challenges is not going to go well for almost anybody. You are never going to compete with the people that are gatekeeping you because they hire real software developers. They are working on optimization. They have people who do, security and reviews and debugging and looking for exploits and certifications and collisions for cryptographic problems, all of these things that nobody in this business really knows how to do. And if they do, they probably quit doing it because they wanted to open a restaurant because they hated the field they were working in. So that's point number one, right? Number two, these services are going to be continued to be premiumized, and I've been repeatedly hard on you guys, right? But these payment processor point of sale system all-in-one platforms are going to continue to tack things on. Everything is an upsell now. It's not just enough that they got the hooks in you, that they run the cards these days, and that they make everything a lot easier operationally. But now if you want access to the CRM, it's a extra flat fee plus per email plus per text message, all this stuff. These gate kept services on these LLMs, on these bigger platforms, from these larger, more capable industrial organizations are going to continue to eat into your profit margins. I think people should really take a good solid look at their P&Ls, at their subscriptions, at these things that are kind of floating around right now, because you might have just assumed at one point in time when you were kind of doing the financials for your business and looking at like cash flow and things that you think like, oh, okay, well, I just have like a 3% processing fee, and some people are pushing that off onto customers now, and that gets into the second half of this video. But that's not the only percentage fee that it like exists anymore. They're everywhere, and they're going to continue to be everywhere. And these platforms are going to premiumize these services, and maybe you will be falling behind without them, but you're certainly still going to be paying for them when you are using them, and in ways that you didn't imagine in your initial financial diligence. So that's real number two, right? One and two pretty connected there. Number three, dashboards, dashboards, dashboards. Marsha, how many fine dashboards do you have? If I see one more article or freelancer or somebody talking about how they're going to put together these dashboards for you, I'm losing my mind. So, you put these things together, you say, like, I want to centralize all my information. I want to know what I'm looking at. I want my KPIs. I want this. I want that. These things could be changing. The API calls can be messy. You need to be verifying. Like, if you just look at the dashboard and that's where you get all your information, but you don't actually make sure that the dashboard is correct, that it's pulling all the reports. What if there's uncategorized something or another in the POS that's not rolling into the dashboard, and comps are out of proportion, or somebody finds some new way to cheat something from you because the dashboard wasn't configured exactly to handle the information that it's exporting? I don't understand. There's a certain amount of automation that like might be able to save you time, and you might be thinking about productivity, but there are just certain habits in the people business, in trafficking, in live cash, or even like ongoing transactions that require you to look and be persistent and revise these things, audit them, make sure that there's nothing going on, because the more systems you automate, the more places you make for built-in scraping and inefficiencies to occur. But this whole thing about I need to put the information to the dashboard, I need to put the information to the dashboard, I want this, I want to be able to look at one screen and see all this. Why do you want to do it? Because you can have all these dashboards, you might even be looking at the right information. Now what are you going to do with this information? The dashboards don't actually get you any closer to what you need to do, and in some instances maybe like interfering with the way that you analyze and interpret data, because you're only getting this top line simplified number. Unfortunately, not everything is so simple in this business that you just solve it because it's in a dashboard. Number down, not good. Well, a lot of reasons number can be down. Number four also touches into this thing that we have going on here with the paper that I'm going to be reviewing shortly. Technology and AI in particular is just not solving key issues in profitability. You look at the polls right now, you go talk to people, you look at like James Beard, which actually is like in Chicago right now. What are people talking about? They're talking about food costs. They're talking about labor costs. They're talking about training and retention. Some of the same things we've been talking about for 20 years. We've had AI rolling now for how long, and all these great huge advancements, and like huge jumps in efficiency in white collar departments that we were supposed to be seeing, and we just kind of keep piling AI onto these things. They're like, AI, here you go, it's going to reduce your turnover. How? Oh, well, we've got this great new thing. Okay, well, what exactly does it do during onboarding? Oh, it'll answer FAQs for you. My brother in Christ, an FAQ box would do that. My manager could be doing onboarding. Like, it's going to stop your manager from having to do onboarding. It's just, since the point of sale and payment guys, right? Which here, I got to give you your props, right? Since you guys came in and started handling payments, no more carbon copies, no more swipe only. You can process payments table side. You can do this, you can do that. All those problems, even cutting down on input times, like you can carry a server station in your pocket now. Great. I love that. But between that and the KDS and like making sure that paper tickets aren't getting lost on racks anymore, and no more paper punch cards, which you've also got to love, right? Like it helps a lot on that. But like, what great advancements has information technology brought? You know, I mean, you could make some arguments probably for like automated maintenance cycles and external temperature monitoring and temperature log verifications. But even then, right? Like, I don't see people installing like special. I think the one company that does really great um, remote temperature monitoring is like Kestrel or something, right? Like my in-laws buy it for industrial applications, right? You don't even need to worry necessarily about like temperature logs, right? If you have three of these things hung in your cooler and it's reporting, nonstop to appropriately enough a dashboard, you can just say like, oh, you want to see my temperature log? Bam, here you go. The entire cooler's been kept this way. It's verified in three different places from something that detects, if a rat farts in the cooler, it'll detect the temperature change, right? Like, but I don't see people using those, right? And I don't see how layering more technology on is really actually going to improve these problems like food cost. Everybody goes, AI will help you lower food cost. Okay, then where is it? Where is it? Oh, well, we can alter menu mixes, we can do predictive ordering and stuff, right? Okay, cool, but relative to my revenue, right? Like you can only cut so much, and why are you throwing that much away anyway, or something like that, right? Like that's not really how that works. And if that is your problem, any standard tactical or strategic decision about your menu or ordering process or ordering volumes would have worked without AI, without the subscription, without being plugged into your point of sale system and scraping data from you and all this other stuff. Um, So here we are already 12 minutes in. You know, brevity is the source of wit, and that's why I'm staring at 10 minutes into a video for 5 individual talking points. Number 5, token costs. Look, guys, I think token costs are going to continue to go through the roof. You see a lot of these programming situations occurring where people are blowing through entire years worth of budgets and things. OpenAI just had, I think, some not too flattering paperwork make its way into the public about how much money they're losing. The wheel is eventually going to turn on these subscriptions where they're going to start getting more expensive. And you're building an organization that's reliant on some of these connections, that's maybe reliant on even some of these predictions. Maybe you found something that does a food software programming thing that someone's made, and it's a service as a software, and that's all great and dandy. It's actually helped you make big jumps and cuts and everything there. Great. But when token costs start going up, when the computing is going up, when the demand is so huge for effective products, your subscription fees are going to go up. And then, like we said back in number 1, right? Like they're gate kept. You don't have access to this expertise. You don't have access to this source code. You don't have access to any of the processes or the data that it's making decisions off of if it's connected to other organizations to help, whatever, predictive supply chain, something or whatever, right? You are going to be cut out of all of that the moment the token price exceeds the value of the subscription. The higher the subscription goes, eventually you're like, dude, we can't pay this anymore, right? And then not only that, but you are losing your in-person efficiency. You're going to like cut your managers out. You're going to cut your staff education. You're going to have no one with their fingers on the pulse of these things. You're not going to have any sensibility for it anymore because it's going to be 2, maybe 3 years down the road, and then all of a sudden you're gonna be like, oh shit, I need to make another shelf to sheet like inventory thing because oh my god, well, what are we gonna do? Yeah. So those are the 5 things. I think those are big, key, primary issues, right? People building reliance, gate-kept technology. No matter how long you think the bubble's going to last, whatever, right? Like, I think we're going to see some of these independent microeconomics in these situations. And since it's just become such an industry focus, such a global focus, no one's going to be safe from this. I mean, think about, you have an inflation cost. Imagine sitting down and saying, we're adjusting all checks by 1.5% to pay for our ChatGPT subscription. People are going to flip. Okay, so I only did a little bit of blocking, and so for part 2, I'm kind of changing some posture here, so I hope everything still looks okay, but it's not like you guys really want to stare at me anyway. So one of the reasons I kind of got inspired to do this video in between some of the other stuff, including the AI series, which I have edited but still haven't posted, is because I've really been having a lot of fun with some of the literature that's out there in the academic circle. A little place called Cornell. You ever heard of it? Anyway, uh, Cornell Commons has been one of my favorite like websites to go to in the last like 3 weeks. I've been just like printing papers and looking at stuff and reading a lot of stuff. And one of the things that was on my mind about some of these talking points and the ways that LLMs can actually damage small businesses in the ways that I just described was looking at what are the academics saying, right? And so, of course, I was just pulling some keywords about like large language model, small language model, applications, da 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 da. There's a nice handful. I assume that a lot of this stuff is actually still ongoing. These people that are doing these things are very intelligent. They put a lot of scientific rigor into these papers to verify assumptions and build brick by brick, which a lot of people really don't have the capacity for. And a lot of people, especially I think in the hospitality and restaurant field, from the general perspective, don't appreciate. Because you'll read this paper and you'll just be like, oh, okay, yeah, great, yeah, no shit, right? So I want to just kind of go out of my way right now. It's going to seem like I'm ragging on these guys, on the people that contributed this paper, and a couple of others, especially in the future. But I'm not sandbagging anybody. I don't want anyone to take it that way. I have nothing but respect for these people. Um, they're very very smart and they're very respected people in multidisciplinary and like very well educated and certified in interdisciplinary fields, who are looking into the future. They're very forward looking people who are being very diligent about how they want to assist this industry. And as a non-academic and operations guy, like I want to be involved in these applications. I want to look at their conclusions and how they come to them and agree with them or take issue with them and look for the ways and have dialogues with the community about how we make these papers meet, what's going on at tables. Which, I've got some problems with this one, right? So, Cornell Commons, this is the white paper series. It's from August 2023. It is called Guest Facing Technology and Service Process Automations, the Future of Full Service Dining. I just want to pick over here, right? So we've got Darius Palaviganji, Liraz Perugian, Vikas Kalireddy, Fiorenzo Sapia, and Alex Suskind. Additional research assisted by Benjamin Berard, Sebastian Dervin, Simon Malinsky, Matthew Steinberg, and Winter Wallace. Links down in the descriptions. That way you can read this yourself or give it an overlook. And I'm not going to quote in depth, right? I'm trying to respect intellectual property and what have you. But here's my little summary for you. Essentially, the paper in August of 2023 is saying they're like, okay, hey, look, advances in AI are going to radically alter the future of in-person full service restaurants. So probably include AI-led sales assistants, table side, servers taking larger sections because of this, not being involved in payment and actually primarily taking an advisory role in ordering and changing the nature of the service position entirely. There are some claims about accessibility and references to current platforms. One of them, I think it was Me&u, with essentially like menu with the N, Me&u, menu, doing some really cool stuff. And I need to do a little more diligence on that company in particular. They had some great information explicitly in the paper about changes in tipping behaviors across the whole platform, and really cool stuff on that front, right? That I definitely also, if I'm not lazy, I'll put the links in for Me&u, and a few other things in there. But yeah, talking about current platforms making this work in the now, not the future, and how these companies see service structures changing under this. I want to just kind of tag this one. The claims about accessibility. They talk about people not having like their primary language essentially tourists, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this can really help tourists because these AI table assistants or table side menu ordering, like built-in table menu ordering, can auto translate things for you and whatever. And I'm like, I kind of have a big problem with this because tablets and a lot of hardware has accessibility modes. It's really good on people's personal devices, but I think very difficult for visually impaired or other kinds of impairments, right? But I think visual impairments with modern tablets make it very, very difficult. You have haptic feedback, but there's no buttons anymore. It's just a clear glass panel, and like, what do you touch, and where is it built into the table, and how am I supposed to hear it, and all these kinds of things. And I feel like if you're in a market that deals with extensive tourism, you already have resources available. Like, I don't feel like it's unreasonable or uncommon for a restaurant here to maybe have options of like Polish, Spanish, Chinese. In some of the neighborhoods, you might have menus with like Arabic commentary on them for people because those are just the languages people speak in the neighborhoods. And I don't see how this independent thing is going to be any better than just having it on your website so someone can take their own personal phone and press a button and be able to listen to the audio features, and having things like formatted properly and using built-in, I don't know, like Google Translate already on people's personal devices. But enough with accessibility in the best way possible, right? So my problems overall with this paper are that I love the conclusions, right? They cite this great thing where they're saying, they're like, yeah, 30% of a server's job right now is data entry and payment processing, and that the historical structure of the role of a server creates breaks where they're not immediately available for tables. And I think that's a very insightful thing. I think that's very true. We talked about, right? Like having this like POS, your little service station in your pocket, is great under certain circumstances. One of the biggest delays in getting orders into the kitchen under normal circumstances, your trip to the server station. What can happen in between then from taking a guest order, like somebody spills or someone falls, or you run some drinks first and then you do something else, then you do that. Or say maybe you get triple sat and a server is taking 3 tables at once, and how does that affect the kitchen and all that stuff, right? Like, it kind of forces servers to serialize input and reduces the time to entry for it to be actively in the kitchen queue. So great, changes a lot of dynamics there very positively. But I just don't really know. There's this kind of like underlying theme of AI kind of being the possible key to solutions to these problems, and like being the driver of these changes in applications. But I don't really know what in the paper like requires necessarily AI, especially on the small to medium business front. It's just kind of like this thing in the background being like, hey, I'm the arbiter of change and maybe providing some of the solutions, but I'm getting main billing anyway, which just kind of feels unfair. I just don't see any huge explanations on how AI is like explicitly useful in these situations, right? Number two, my other big problem here is, right, so they talk about avoiding servers being involved in the payment process. No more cash handling, no more dropping the check, no more, flipping the tablet in front of someone and demanding a tip in front of them. Like, oh, you just have your iPad built into the table and you're gonna order from there, and I'm gonna help you order from there, and then when you're ready, you're just gonna scan your card and whatever. Now, my big problem with this is like Japan is a death knell to this paper. Obviously, we're talking about major societal influences, but Japan is like hugely cash intensive. I think the highest reported numbers of like cashless payments in urban and metropolitan areas is like 52% nowadays. That's still only about 50% even after COVID. Like, one of the most COVID cautious nations on the face of the planet was still handling like coins and bills and stuff, right? And this also shouldn't sound very strange to you to think about ordering off of a tablet at your table if you've been to Japan. Because if you've been to Japan, you've probably seen like restaurants that do this, right? They only have like 2 servers and they're like, bam, okay, whatever, you do that and the server brings the food. So they've already been doing this, one, without AI for decades. And two, like I said, it's not necessarily a novel innovation. So I don't really know what landscape or even case studies you can pull from Japan and how applicable it is here, especially given like no tipping and different wages and wage scale and what have you. And certainly, I've never seen tablets in. Granted, it's been like 8 years since I've been there, but I didn't see tablets in high-end places that were full service. I saw them in places that were relatively quick serve, mom and pop locations and stuff, and mostly so that way the guy running it could just stay in the back and cook like the fried chicken and some of the stuff at a few of the places that we ate at. The guy was like receiving all of the orders directly to his KDS because he didn't want to have to walk back and forth and talk and wash his hands constantly. He would wash his hands to bring the food out, wash his hands once he was done bringing the food out, and then go back to cooking, and then run more food after orders were complete. In serial. Um, Number three, this paper doesn't address operations practicum or server retention or training. And one of the big things in adapting this technology, especially currently, I mean, I know it's been 3 years since the writing of the paper, but you don't really, I don't think, see widespread full service restaurants adopting the structure that's talked about in this paper. And it says it's like, you're really going to have to train staff to be highly attentive, to be highly personable, to be very impressionable with guests. You're going to have to change serving responsibilities and maybe even the layouts of server stations. To do this, but we don't have any AI solutions for hiring and retention and training and everything else. So I can't imagine some way in which servers have less table time, have less contact time, need to be more, like I said, impressionable, need to be more charismatic, whatever, like with current talent pool. Just even look at your own organization. Think about how good your customer service would be rated. You can talk about like, okay, well, yeah, you're only going to keep like your top 5 players or something, but then how does that affect service depth? How does that affect total volume? All kinds of major staffing issues that is just not aided by the addition of technology. Number 4, highlights a lot of menu engineering and display services, which I feel are problematic. So essentially, we're talking about ordering from this thing, and the server comes around and walks you through some of this and some of the that, and maybe answers your questions about wine and da 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 da. And the tablet will either automatically organize menu items by category, or come with time warnings, little like color indicators or something to say like, oh, well, you might want a gin flip, but we're very busy right now. It's Friday night, so that's going to be in red. Just letting you know that's going to take 20 minutes. um, or like even just the natural organic organizing of like, oh, hey, here are the appetizers that are going to come out the fastest and they're all going to be at the top. And that I actually fucking hate this. It's going to be a problem. It's always a problem. There's always capacity issues. A lot of kitchens don't make any money unless they're crashing in certain venues and stuff anyway. But it drives me nuts to think that if I am a consistent customer to this place, that I have to dig through the menu to order the thing I want just because it's busy. Like, it's okay. Like, as an industry person, I understand that it's going to take a little extra time on a Friday or something. Maybe even as a layman, you don't really understand the mechanism, but it is busy and it's a Friday. But you still want X or Y plate. And now you got to dig all the way to the bottom of the thing, and it's going to say, "Are you sure you want to order this?" Yes, I'm sure I want to fucking order it. Why are you going to sell it if you can't make it at scale? That's not a menu display issue. That is genuinely just a menu. You and your kitchen, your management team is not engineering your menu the right way, and this is not going to help you. It just looks bad. It looks really bad in my opinion. You know, I'll take a big L there, right? Maybe I'm wrong, right? But I don't know. That one really bothers me. It's very inhospitable in my mind, especially for repeat and loyal customers. Um, Number 5 that I got really going for this, right, is it talks about like data capture and CRM and building loyalty and automatic recommendations based on customer profiles, because obviously the AI is going to plug into all of your systems across the place, which, once again, all gate kept. You're not in control of any of this. How much control, what is really yours from the CRM that's, for you and for you to take somewhere else if you need to change who you're doing business with, um, in these circumstances. The people benefiting off of this are the gatekeepers, right? And my white paper personally has stalled. Just don't have the capacity to work on it. But the only industry not struggling to get utility and max utility out of artificial intelligence are scammers and lawbreakers. Um, at table QR codes and these payment tablets and all this other stuff is opening up this massive, unrecognized surface area for attacks and skimming and fraud and private surveillance. I mean, like they're already processing enough. It's like, Square knows where to send a text message for my receipt no matter where I go that has Square because I was entered in a Square employee database at a place I worked, right? So they know they can already correlate all the data, and yeah, we should have read the terms of services and this and that and whatever. But that's a huge problem. And then like somebody starts planting like QR codes that redirect payment links and start skimming card numbers or stealing transactions or all kinds of weird stuff. And then think about this even. AI assisted sales, your server can see like people's favorite items, favorite neighbors, special kinds of drinks, and all this other stuff. Think about the creepy, weird employees that you may have, or weird, creepy interactions you've had at other restaurants, right? To not even, trash your own staff. Where now someone at the touch of a couple buttons has this like really interesting insight on your habits and your personality and these things that are all collected by large companies, and maybe I don't know, some kind of like customer heat map, like, oh, Cheryl likes to come in on Wednesdays. And so now, Bobby starts working more Wednesdays to try to chat up Cheryl more and stuff. It's a mess. And what's that going to look like when police find out that some guy's keeping some journal about how he's stalking someone, at their own restaurant and all this stuff, and somebody gets, horrible, horrific thing that happens in life because some people have problems. It's just, I'm glad I don't work in HR. Number 6, what the hell do you do when this stuff goes down, right? So you have AI led sales assistants at the table. You have servers taking larger sections. You have totally revamped entire service processes because you just don't do it that way anymore. And then one day, the service is just down in the tri-state area because I don't know, if a cyber attack, Cloudflare issue, point of sale is down, the Wi-Fi went out, there's a bad storm. Oh, we have backup generators. Yeah. But I don't usually see that going well in the lowest form of tech dependency. I still don't see that going well. So do you guys really have robust emergency planning? I don't think so. And then how do you even cope with that operationally when all of it's down anyway? The more hands you have, and I understand, labor costs and the raising wages and everything, but the more hands you have at any point in time, especially in critical situations, the easier it is to redelegate. You are going to be left completely high and dry in these circumstances if you have servers taking 10 or 12 tables instead of 6, even in a higher check average capacity. You're just going to have to shut down or completely limit services. It's just bonkers, and that's any of it. Recommendations goes down, automatic assistance goes down for table questions, or indicator lights don't start popping off. Tons of issues. And then finally, we're coming up on my traditional 30 minutes here. There's just no practicum, right? We talk very intensely and very intelligently about a lot of the problems and the bottlenecks of service as they exist and ways in which the technology can assist. But we just don't have any practicum here. And my big kind of like jab to this is, let's talk about allergies. You're never going to have an LLM or a tableside AI sales assistant or whatever you want to call this stuff. No service concierge, right? Your new version of a waiter is going to have anything alleviated about the process of dealing with an allergy. The kitchen is still verifying. Your employees are 100% verifying the integrity of this item as it moves through. And handling the question and handling the in-house communication and verifying the touch points of potential contaminants and everything from start to finish. There's no way that technology that I've seen so far really like helps this. So then what happens? How does that happen? Like Is there an automatic flag that goes off? They ask the tablet, hey, I have this allergy. What should I do? Does it just go, hey, your server's coming right now and alerts them to go talk to you in person? Or does it hallucinate and say, yeah, don't worry, there's no soy in that? And then bam, you've got a liability on your hands. And then whose liability is it? I mean, I don't know, because the payment processor and tablet company outsource their computing time to someone else, and whatever. I just don't know what this is practically solving, other than changing some of the table logistics, other than changing some of the service design infrastructure. But you know, is it helping? Like I said, we're not dealing with that. Yeah, we know labor costs are a big deal. This barely touches that, right? I mean, the other thing about labor costs is the higher the labor costs get, the worse training and retention turnover hurts, right? So maybe focusing on something that's wholly preventable and fostering talent instead of just hemorrhaging money for completely no reason is better to address than trying to continually cut the number of employees down. Like, what is it going to come to? One server for an entire restaurant floor, or for one server per 70 people? Is that really a full service restaurant at that point? I don't really know what that looks like, or how technology even helps you get there, even if that's the place you want to land. um, so I hope people give the paper a read. Like I said, these guys make some very poignant things. There's some great conversations about designs and system design in this. These were some of my bones to pick in the hypothetical, and I'm just really trying to get the wheels spinning to answer those. There is a huge, huge truck going by. I'm trying to answer some of these questions myself, which is why I'm asking them and putting them out there with the community, because I really want to be involved in the conversation with everybody about what this means and how to apply it. So, yeah, I think it actually quit raining for a few minutes. And with that, I'm out. See you.